Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another video here in the garden. It is a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Now, we are 1 week post the Queensland Garden Show. If you didn't see the video, go and check it out. It's going to be linked right above the screen right now or in the description below, so go and check that out. We had so much fun at the Queensland Garden Show, but now we're back in the garden and we've got some things to do. So there's plenty on the list today, so stick around. We're going to dive into a few of these tasks today, have you follow along, talk about my thoughts and processes while doing these tasks, and hopefully get a fair bit further along in this gardening journey. So let's do it. So first order of business, if you don't remember, is that we have had a little bit of a trouble with our banana. Remember, it was completely destroyed. If you missed the reels, there has been some intruders in the garden, whether or not it was a possum, some rats, a bush turkey, or even the chooks that I have here running through the fruit tree section. But we had a bit of a problem and we've lost our dwarf banana. So what I've done is excluded, you may be able to see the fence that's coming across here. I've excluded the chickens from this fruit tree area, and we're going to be doing a little bit of work on it today to improve the soil, add in some more biodiversity, some more plants, and get things growing in this soil. Because as you can see, right now, all we have is a few fruit trees along the edge here and absolutely nothing in between. I've laid down this forest mulch, which you would have seen in previous videos, but essentially we don't have any topsoil. So we're going to try and create some topsoil today with a few different things. So left over from the Queensland Garden Show last weekend, I have a whole bunch of the #1 blend, which was on display at the actual tent that I was running. So you could come up to the stall and see the product itself. So I've got some left over. That's going to be going all across the area underneath the fruit trees. We've also got a whole bunch of cover crop seeds as well. Same thing, these were out on the stall for people to come and have a look at. So we've got a whole bunch of these cover crop seeds. I'm gonna try and broadcast them, just generally throw them around underneath these fruit trees and see how much germination we can get. It is forest mulch and it is kind of dry and there isn't much soil underneath. So I don't have a huge amount of hope for successful germination, but we're gonna throw it down, see what happens, keep it moist, keep it watered. We might even add in a little bit more compost and worm castings just to top it up and make sure. But realistically, these have got to go somewhere. They're extras, they're leftovers, they've been out in the sun, they're ready to be planted, they're ready to be germinated. So we're gonna give it a go. Worst comes to worst, it's just gonna be more seed meal food for the soil. So let's give it a go anyway. No, get out of there. You're not supposed to be in there. Poor love, she's actually had something happen to her little head thing. I think she was attacked recently. You need to stay away. You're intimidating her, aren't you? Oh yes, thank you, nice kisses. You gotta leave her alone, mister, okay? You enjoying the sunshine too? You having some fun? I know you like watching these chickens, but they're not actually supposed to be for eating, remember? You a good boy? Yes, you're a good boy. He absolutely loves being out in the garden with me, as you can imagine, having a little look at the chooks. But he's really good, he won't touch them. It's amazing. But we need to get this chook on the other side of the fence. Oh, there you go, with one hand. All right, where was I? So, second port of call, after we've planted a whole bunch of this cover crop, or at the same time, we're gonna be planting more pineapples. Now, I've had these sitting in glasses for a few weeks. If you didn't know, apparently for pregnancy, to ripen your cervix, or whatever this means, you need to eat certain foods, and pineapple is one of those foods that apparently was really good. Turned out it was really good. Turned out it worked. But anyway, we've now got loads of tops of pineapples from eating all these pineapples. So we're gonna plant a few of them in the garden underneath the fruit trees. There was already one in there, and there was already a second one, which has been ripped out. You can see the roots are all dry now, unfortunately, but it was ripped out by the chooks scratching around. So we're gonna try and replant this. Who knows if it will come back to life, but yeah, it's worth it. Otherwise, again, food for the soil. We're gonna get stuck into those two jobs first, and then we're going out the back to the raised garden beds out the back. to show you a little bit about cover crop termination. Now, the cover crop's been in there for a fair few weeks now. It's overgrown, it's super crowded in there, but we got plenty of great organic matter to work with. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways in which I terminate the cover crop. And one, we're going to pick one bed, and I'm going to show you why we're picking that bed to grow our potatoes. We've got our seed potatoes that have sprouted now, they've chitted, and we've got our Dutch cream potatoes ready to go in the bed. So we're going to pick one for those, we're going to terminate the cover crop, and we're going to show you exactly how I go about planting something once we're finished with our cover crop. But first, pineapples and cover crop seeds out here in the front garden. Let's go. So I think one of the spots we want to put it is just underneath this tree here, this lemonade tree. But if we have a look, so sort of don't want to make planting too complicated, right? We want to just have a little look down. We can see the quality of the soil is actually a lot better than I thought. There is soil underneath here. The wood chip is a really good way of breaking down organic matter and helping it to turn into topsoil, but it's not the only thing that we can do. There's plenty more. So I'm just basically digging a hole. I often like to get my hands in and kind of clear it away like that. See, we've got some good soil in there. It's not too bad. Considering, well, you know, what we were working with lawn beforehand, it's still relatively clay-based, but it's not terrible. Look, it's not awful. There's plenty of organic matter in there. There's some structure to it and all that sort of thing. But what we want to do is dig a hole sort of about a fist or so deep. Then we're going to take our pineapple. See, this one has minimal roots starting. So this is, there we go, there's one little one just there. So this one's only just starting. So normally I might wait a little bit longer, but we just want to get these in the ground. I want to get things planted. So we're going to kind of set it up a little bit like this, and then we're going to pile in a few things. So first things first, we're going to put in a little bit more compost from Red Soil Organics. Just a nice handful. Look at this beautiful colored compost. I'm going to sprinkle that in the bottom of the hole. Okay, so give it some nice foundation, nothing too crazy. Maybe same with some worm castings. This is from our friends at Rural Earthworms. Again, look at this. Great quality castings. Bottom of the hole. We now know that there's plenty of nutrition, microbes, and organic matter in there to help it. So just sort of mixing it around, kind of with the soil around it as well, makes a nice foundation. And I've got a little bit left of the Nourish Me Organics soil fertilizer from the mycorrhizal fungi mix. So if we kind of dust this in a little bit like that. So it's just covering the bottom of the hole, inoculating where our roots are going to be. Pineapple goes in, sits kind of right where that mycorrhizal fungi is, and then I'm going to get some more compost and around the base just like this, and then we're going to kind of just tuck it into bed there, bring some of the mulch around and kind of just tuck it in. Now, number one blend. Okay, we don't need a huge amount. Look at all these delicious amendments. We're going to sort of sprinkle this just around the outside, maybe a little bit more up for the tree as well, and we're going to kind of just work it in, let it go underneath the soil there. And we're going to water this in a second when we water everything in, but just a little bit of the number one blend is going to help slowly work through and help improve that soil together. I'm now going to go and repeat that process basically along this row of fruit trees. I'm going to try and plant a couple maybe under each fruit tree and just sort of spread them out around the thing, and then I'll show you when I'm finished. Last one to go in is this crazy like quadruple header. It looks very strange, kind of came on the top, looks like it's been sliced off from the sides, but it was this enormous top and it seems to have 4 different plants. So presumably you could wait till roots come out of each one and separate them, but I'm going to kind of give this clump a bit of a head start and chuck it under here and see how it gets on. All right, all done. So we have 1, 2 around the side, 2, we have 3, 4, 5. well, 6, 7, 8, 9, you can say. Or 6, 7. Either way, quite a few pineapple plants. So fingers crossed that they have some good success rate. Remember, might be a little while in between getting pineapples. Some say up to 2 years. I've heard 18 months as well. Let me know down below how long it took you, but it's worth it in the long run, isn't it? Now that I've finished that, we're gonna put some cover crop seeds down. So what I might do is empty the rest of, whoop, we can't really see, these 2 bags here. What a weird camera angle. Those 2 bags, worm castings and compost, we're gonna empty those just across the surface here. Then we're gonna broadcast the seeds nice and liberally everywhere all over this section. And then I'm gonna kind of go in and scatter it around with my feet and my hands and make sure we get a bit of soil contact, put it through the mulch layer a bit, and hopefully give it the best chance of germination. Of course, we're going to give it a big watering in a second with some extra goodies just for good measure. So taking this bag and essentially I'm just giving it a sprinkle. The reason being is that, oh, actually, careful not to stand on any pineapples. But the reason being is all of this compost contains a huge amount of microbes and living things. You know, hopefully if you don't let your compost go too far without before using it, but it's got so much life in it. We're bringing all of this organic matter and life to the soil around this area. And even though it doesn't look like it's going to cover much, we're kind of just making sure that it's inoculated, so to speak, so that then we've got, you know, enough to kind of start breeding and going around there and doing their thing. And this is fun. You get to put your hands in the dirt and we get to throw it everywhere. It's lots of fun. So I'm going to keep going with this. Remember, good compost is good organic matter as well. So the compost is helping to improve the soil quality. We're building up, I guess, around it. I'm trying to make a little bit extra in and around underneath the fruit trees too, just because obviously they're going to use it straight away. We'll finish off the bag around here. Whoops. You see how it's just everywhere? We're going to kind of spread it through. It's just all over, kind of just bits and pieces. The rain is going to wash it through too, remember? So just kind of mixing it in. Whew. Going a bit lightheaded, leaning over all the time. Now, the rest of these worm castings as well. We're going to put them down over the top, but I want to do it over the top of the cover crop seeds. Just kind of like a little blanket going over the top, maybe. And check this out. Look how amazing this is. You see the stickiness? This humus, when it sticks to your hands like this, you know you've got a good quality compost. If you're left with this sticky residue that smells amazing, a bit like cow poo mixed with some delicious soil, but it's amazing. This stuff is what you want. You want it on your skin, in your microbiome, all of this stuff. We're so similar to soil, it's not funny. I love it. Soil on the hands, got to get it dirty. Even just get it. Oh, that one didn't work very well. There we go. Get in there. Get in the spirit. I look stupid with the soil on my face now, but no, I don't have the ability to kind of do this very well with a camera and a tripod. But what I'm going to do is try and broadcast these seeds all over this area, as I said. So nothing special with this, okay? We're just liberally broadcasting. Nature doesn't go and plant all these specific rows, although, you know, to be honest, it probably would work better in this in rows, but nature doesn't do that. We're just playing it up to chance. This is nature's lottery. I'm gonna see which one of these bad boys germinates and which one doesn't. So I can do this with one hand, but I'm gonna grab a whole bunch of seeds, look, like this. Oh, look at the color combo of all of that. Look how delicious that is. And, woohoo! Liberally spreading seeds everywhere, okay? Look, still sticking to the hands. Let's get down in there. Yeah, sprinkle, sprinkle. Okay, we keep going down the rows, keep going. A little bit more. More. We're lucky we have a fair few seeds, I suppose. Look at this. Surely we're going to get some germination here. You can also just shake. It's just coming out everywhere, wherever. Doesn't matter. We're all improving the soil no matter what. Wherever these go, whether they're germinating or not. Okay, that's first round. Second lot of species here, we can see buckwheat in here, snow peas, cowpeas, a little bit more clover species. All right, let's give this a shake. Oh yeah, this is so much fun. I can tell, look at these guys, they're keen. Surely one of these is gonna germinate, right? Wasn't that fun? So now comes blanket tucking in time. We're gonna go with the worm castings. Now, obviously I'm walking on this, aren't I? I'm gonna stamp it in with my feet, and I'm kind of pressing them into the soil a bit at the same time. But if you watch this, see how we've got all the seeds kind of just sitting here, all on top of the soil? We're then, sprinkling over the top, and we're tucking in all of these seeds with a little bit more soil, or worm castings, I should say. Remember, we're obviously not going to be getting full coverage. Like, I'm just sprinkling it over the top. We're not going to get full coverage, but at least it's going to be giving us some more nutrition, and it's going to be adding more organic matter, more soil contact, and all of the right things that seeds need to germinate in the beds. So more worm castings. We're just basically going to spread them liberally around. I got the camera to kind of follow me a bit. See if I can crouch down. That's a bit better. And then we're just going to be going wild with these worm castings, throwing them around the place, being a bit liberal, enjoying the garden. Isn't this just the fun part? Throwing worm castings and mud around in the air? Like, this is the part that we live for, isn't it? This is the part that we just get in connect with Earth, with Mother Nature. In saying that though, I like to keep the microbes and the things, the living, like soil and all of that, on my skin for a while. Like, get it under your nails, maybe eat a little bit of it. It's good for you. It's good for you. It helps the microbiome. It builds your immune system. Obviously, I'm not telling you to go out and eat dirt, but go on, eat a bit of soil. Yeah, look at this. Still following? Yeah, look at this. Woohoo! Thank you, rural earthworms. Thank you for the worm castings. Remember, we saw those guys at the Queensland Garden Show. I managed to pick up a couple of extra bags of the Morpheus compost thanks to the legends next door at Key Landscapes. Rio and Bethany had a couple of bags there for me, so managed to snag those. Never miss out on some good quality compost. Now that that's finished, I'm gonna go through with my feet and basically kind of swish everything around. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm kind of just coming in and just moving stuff around with my feet, making sure the mulch is kind of covering it. We've got soil contact. We're breaking up some of the clumps of worm castings. We're seeing how much of these seeds we can get in the ground or underneath and into the soil. And whether they germinate or not, they're still going to feed the soil, which is wonderful. And we've also kick-started with a whole bunch of compost. So we're not only feeding the soil, but we're improving it as well, bringing life back to the soil. Under the feed jar as well. Man, I love a feed jar. That'll well and truly do. I imagine that, as I said, we're not going to get a huge amount of success, but you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. I'm here to be surprised at least anyway. Let's do it. Let's try. So today I'm going to be watering in with some of the FBE. I'm literally going to use most of this to just water in the rest of that bed, get myself some more. Remember, this is amazing. Plenty of inoculating microbes in there. Second product from Red Soil Organics, the Tidal Wave. This is also going in. Really good Kickstarter for all of the nutrition that we need in there. Last little bit of number one blend too. A little bit dusty. I'll water in with those things in a second. I'm going to put it in the watering can and go round for the rest of the garden. You don't need to see that. I'm just watering in. Very, very simple. Remember, sunlight, soil contact, water. That's how seeds grow. Job done. Okay, so we've watered that in. That feels really good. We've got life starting to be grown in that section underneath the fruit trees. So now it's time to head over to the back garden and we're going to get into the potatoes. So here are the 3 beds that we planted our cover crop in, and now look, you can see how crazy it has been growing. It's been just going absolutely nuts. We can see so many different species in here, from grasses to brassicas to a random tomato seed that's replanted itself. We can look in here, look at all these different little plants that we've got, and if we head on in there, you can see clover starting to come through underneath, but it is absolutely jam-packed. We also have our buckwheat that's gone to seed, so these little seeds are now ready to just throw back into the cover crop and they will regerminate. We've got our vetch coming through, our climbing vetch, which is really nice to see, but just going absolutely bananas and crazy and having so much of it come out. So there's a few things we can do to terminate this. This bed here is also going crazy. Remember, we've got the comfrey out here, but I haven't terminated or done anything with these 2 beds. This very rusty, old-looking pelican dude is helping scare away the bush turkey, and that's done really well. But over here, I have terminated this. And the reason I did is because it was so densely packed. It was actually getting a whole bunch of bug damage, which you can probably see. It was screaming out and saying, I'm overgrown, I'm completely crowded, and it's time to go. So what we did was we came along and we basically folded everything in with my hand. You can see some of it's already starting to grow up. These snow peas and the gorgeous vetch here is all starting to grow up. But I came in and we're basically patting down on top. Now all of this is starting to die off and it's going to be turning into a mulch, a living mulch somewhat. So when we're ready to plant into this, once it's died and solarized a little bit, hey bud, you like the cover crop? You think it looks tasty? So once it's all died back, you could peel yourself apart a little section in here and look at that. Look how awesome that soil is looking down there. Well improved, ready to roll, ready to plant into. But which bed to choose? Which one am I going to be planting my potatoes in? Now, there's a few considerations that needs to go in when planting potatoes. Is it an indeterminate or a determinate variety? And what that means is basically when the potato is growing upwards, are there more potatoes shooting up off the stem? And do we need to mound up the potatoes as they grow? And the answer to this for our Dutch cream potatoes, which we are going to be planting, is yes, we do need to mound our potatoes. And that takes us to this bed here. Although this bed hasn't been terminated yet and is growing comfrey in it, this bed actually has the lowest level of soil in here. So when we do plant the potatoes down in there, we have the chance to be able to mound up a little bit. This bed here is kind of full, so we're going to have to be going up and over the edge, which I'm not all that keen to do. So this one here, we're going to be terminating this cover crop in a second, and then you'll be able to mound up once we get a little bit higher up with our potatoes. Here are our lovely Dutch cream potatoes, and you can see that they've sprouted beautifully well. They're chitting, so which means they're more than ready to go. I could divide this up into a few different pieces. I might chop some of them in half, but I want to keep most of them. That's probably enough for one bed anyway. We're going to get plenty of potatoes out of that at the end of the season. You can see how many different sprouts there are, different islets on the potato, so you could really divide this up into so many. So I might do that a little bit with some of these bigger ones. But first, we're going to terminate the cover crop, and we get to use my awesome Japanese sickle knife. If you haven't had one of these before, they're so much fun. Nice and serrated along the edges there, so you can see they're nice and sharp. But it's great for terminating the cover crop, and I'll show you exactly how I do it. So if you've got the bed here, and you've got all of this material here, essentially what we're doing is lifting up to where the roots are. You can see all of these roots underneath, and I'm basically going to grab them in a fist like this, and kind of just gently come through, and we're going to take them all off. So you can see all of the edges there, and we're going to basically lay it back down on top. There is so much greenery, organic matter here. There's plenty that we're going to be working with, but I'm going to go around the whole bed. I'll leave the comfrey, but I'm going to go around the whole bed and chop and drop exactly how it sounds. We chop and then we drop on top. Coming around the side here, getting right in there. You can just also chop it up into smaller pieces. This is so much fun, getting in there. Look at all this organic matter. We've got the buckwheat seeds, which are going to go down and regerminate, and we'll have more cover crop coming through at the same time in and amongst our potatoes. But if we keep on top of it, we're not going to lose out too much, which will be great. Severed, take a few of the comfrey leaves because they're always good mulch. This is termination 101. Very, very simple, very, very easy. You can use scissors, you can use a lawnmower, you can use a crimper, you can use your hands, you can use a knife, a steak knife, anything really that's sharp enough. Just be careful when you're fishing around with one of these that you don't get stuck in on your fingers. But we're going to spread it out nice and liberally. And there we have it. It's all finished here and terminated. You can see that I'm basically chopping just above and leaving all of that root system intact to go down there and break down underneath in the soil, which is really cool. A few comfrey leaves, pull away some of these really big comfrey leaves. Look how big some of them are, like way bigger than my hand. And comfrey is so great for mulch. Some of these are yellow because we're running out of nutrition in this bed with all of this cover crop going nuts, but now it's going to feed everything. Now, I hear you ask, how do I plant straight into that giant pile of green organic matter? And that's a good question, because it is really thick mulch, and a lot of the time, if you're planting something into there, you need to make sure that it can reach through to the light above it and get some sunlight as well. Similar with potatoes, even though we're burying them, we still want to make sure that they're not going to reach a ceiling where they just can't get out of the top of the mulch. So where I'm going to be planting each one, I'm going to kind of make a little hole in it so that there's a clearing, so to speak, above it, so then it can come out and kind of push its way and poke its way through. With this potato here, I'm going to actually use this dangerous sickle knife here and try and chop that in half. But as long as you've got, I think the rule of thumb is generally 3 of these little sprout eyelets holding up, you can see there. As long as you've got 3 on each part of your potato, then generally you're good to go. So I'm going to try and cut this into 3 different sections and without chopping my hand. So we've got one little section here. You can see it's got a couple of little eyelets on it. That'll be fine. It can just go straight into the soil like that. So that's one. Let me pop that back in the egg carton. Let's chop this again. Oh dear. Highly recommend using a different knife. I highly recommend using a different knife. This is Dangerous. So there, sliced again. But for these smaller ones, I'm just gonna go in like that. Look, that's more than ready to go. So you can just put these straight in and they're gonna have a whale of a time in there. But choose a better knife than that, please. We're about to get rained on, I think, so I need to get these potatoes in quick smart. So when picking a place, wow, actually look at that. Look at the root on that, that's crazy. See how good of a job that is doing at going and breaking apart the compacted soil. Look how much thicker than my finger it is. That's insane, and that's going to go break down and feed the soil. But we can't exactly plant right here, can we? So we're going to find a spot, clear it away, and we've got a little section of soil in here. So now we want to go about 15 centimeters or 10 to 15 centimeters deep. Generally, you know, you can sort of put your fist down underneath and put the potato in. There's so many different ways to do it, and potatoes are really resilient. So get my little spade in. I'm going to kind of loosen up the soil in here. Look at this. Worms, beautiful worm activity there. Look at the quality of the soil. It's nice and dark and rich and full of life. We saw some worms in there. There's some roots going on. Plenty of life. This is exactly what we need. I kind of pull it to the side. Might leave it on the spoon there or on the spade so that when I've dug down with my hands, we can put some back on top. So I can kind of fit my fist right down under there in that hole. Take said potato, dunk it in the hole, okay, and then we're going to use this to cover it back over, kind of push back over the top. I'm not going to tamp down too much, just a light gentle push on top, and then I want to leave that like this so it's kind of open and I know where my potato's gone, and it's going to give it some space to come up, and the mulch around it is going to protect it. It's also about to rain, so we're going to get some awesome watering in of this gorgeous potatoes. I'll continue to do that now, and I'll finish all of them, try and put all of those in the same bed. Whether it's overcrowded or not, we're going to get a full bed of potatoes in a matter of weeks. Can't wait to be eating some beautiful fresh Dutch cream potatoes, mashed potato, ooh, bit of cream, butter. How do you have your potatoes? Let me know. Check this out. Look at this. Worms everywhere. They're just so full. This soil is just so healthy. Now remember, a few general rules of thumb when planting potatoes is we want to make sure that they are disease-free seed potatoes. Any kind of potato really will go to seed, so to speak, in your cupboard. If you leave it in the dark for long enough, you'll notice that some of them tend to go all nice and sprouty in the dark. Now that's one way of doing it, but we want to make sure that the actual source of the potatoes is clean. We know where these potatoes have come from. We know whether they were sprayed, whether they're resistant to disease, or whether they actually are susceptible to disease, because remember, certain potato species are more susceptible to than others. But we want to make sure that it's a reputable place we're getting our seed potatoes from, or even just make sure that you're getting a nice good seed potato or one from your friends or a farm down the road, and you can let them go to seed yourself, and then they will generate a whole bunch of fresh potatoes for you and your family, and most likely your community as well. Okay, one more, I think, just down in the corner here, under the comfrey. I'm genuinely impressed by this soil health because, you know, with the comfrey that's in here as well, I'm just generally amazed. There's so many worms in here, but it's all tucked in. We've got 1, 2, 3, kind of 4 in there, which I generally covered up. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plenty. Now this is going to die around, some of it will grow back, but hopefully these potatoes are going to come through and poke their little heads through, and we'll keep you updated on the progress. So last but not least, we need to water them in. I'm not too sure whether it's actually going to rain or not, so I'm going to water them in anyway, again, with a little bit of goodies, okay, because we want to kickstart this process, make sure it's all good. But you don't have to. You really don't have to. If you've done the pre-work with making sure the soil health is okay, if you've used the #1 blend or cover crop techniques, you're going to get a little bit of extra benefit. Or if you're going to use compost or worm castings, it's going to be a little bit faster to get all that biology in there and have the plants access all of the nutrition that's actually in the soil. But if you've done the steps beforehand, you don't really need anything. You just need to be planting it and watering it and looking after it and using your shadow as the best fertilizer. So that concludes today's episode. Thank you so much for joining me. We just had a few tasks to do in the garden. There's plenty more on the horizon. We're going to be testing out to see if we get any of this germination here. We've got a whole bunch more forest mulch, which is coming in to do what I'm standing on underneath. And remember, we've got the soil, the big pile here that we've been working on. So we're going to be getting a whole bunch of things growing. But this is a creative process for me. I've moved house and changed gardens plenty of times, and I just absolutely love having a fresh space where I can just be creative and go, oh, I can grow things here, or blah, blah, blah. And we're improving the soil. We're showing you what's possible, turning a lawn into a thriving garden, and just what needs to happen, how we guide the land in that direction to where we want it, and where something can be both helpful to our lives, providing some food, some medicine, these types of things, but also manageable, so I can be out here and actually spend some time doing what I need to do without it being too overwhelming with a family or a life or job, etc., etc. So it needs to be well integrated into my life. But thank you so much for joining me. If you enjoyed today's video, leave it a like and leave a comment. The best feedback I can get from you is a comment, writing a few words saying, hey Jordan, I really loved following you around the garden today, or hey, stop talking, cut to the chase, cut your hair, something like this, anything. I love a bit of feedback. So thank you so much. Please follow along for more, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you again very soon on the next video. Bye for now. Just as I was packing up, look what happened. All over the ground and around my feet. Catastrophe! I'm gonna start picking up all this glass. No! That's why you don't have glass near your garden with bare feet. No! There's also been a bit of an incident. We've lost Forrest Stump's eye. I have absolutely no idea where it is. Do you guys know where it is? No? He's lost his eye, so, this whole garden's been in the wars, and we've got to try and find out where it went.